When was the last time waiting felt like a gift? In a world obsessed with instant results, we've forgotten that some seeds require darkness before they bloom. Your delay is not a denial. It's divine timing unfolding in ways your limited perspective cannot yet comprehend. The universe doesn't operate on your schedule. It operates on the schedule of your highest evolution. What if I told you that the very thing making you anxious, that painful pause, that maddening silence, that seemingly eternal waiting period, is actually the universe's most profound act of love? What if delay isn't punishment but protection? What if waiting isn't wasted time but necessary preparation? Think of all the times you've looked back and whispered, "Thank God that didn't happen when I wanted it to." The relationship that didn't materialize until you'd learned to love yourself. The opportunity that arrived only after you'd developed the skills to handle it. The healing that came precisely when your heart was finally ready to receive it. You see the delay as disappointment. The universe sees it as divine choreography. We've been conditioned to equate waiting with suffering. We refresh our emails, check our phones, and count the days, convinced that faster always means better. We've internalized the belief that if something isn't happening now, something must be wrong. That waiting is losing, that patience is passive. But nature tells a different story. The caterpillar doesn't rush its metamorphosis. The diamond doesn't hurry its formation. The child doesn't accelerate its growth in the womb. There is wisdom in the waiting, a sacred intelligence to the timing of all things. Perhaps you're waiting for that career breakthrough. You've sent the applications, done the interviews, visualized the outcome. You've followed all the manifestation techniques, yet the doors remain closed. The universe isn't ignoring you. It's incubating something far greater than what you're currently envisioning. Perhaps the right team hasn't formed yet. Perhaps the position itself is still evolving into something that will utilize not just your current skills, but talents you haven't even discovered in yourself. Or maybe it's love you're waiting for, that soul-deep connection that seems to find everyone but you. What if your person is completing crucial inner work right now, healing wounds that would have otherwise contaminated your connection? What if they're learning lessons in another relationship, lessons that will make them the partner you truly deserve, not just the partner you think you want? Or perhaps you're in that excruciating space of waiting for healing, physical, emotional, or spiritual. Each day feels like an eternity when you're in pain. But what if this slow process is allowing you to build resilience muscles you'll need for the mission that awaits you? What if your healing journey is this deliberate because you're meant to guide others through similar darkness later? We resist the waiting because we believe we know better. Our limited human perspective says, now, faster, immediate. But cosmic timing operates on a scale we cannot fully comprehend from our singular vantage point. Think of it like this. You're standing inches from an enormous tapestry, focused only on a single thread, the delay, the waiting, the apparent stagnation. But step back, and you'd see how that pause, that gap, that silence, is creating necessary negative space in the grand design of your life. Without it, the pattern would be cluttered, the meaning lost, the beauty diminished. The ancient Greeks understood this wisdom. They had two words for time, chronos and kairos. Chronos is clock time, mechanical, predictable, linear. But kairos is different. Kairos is sacred timing, the perfect, opportune moment when conditions align. When something happens in kairos, it has a weight, a significance, a rightness that transcends mere occurrence. It doesn't just happen, it unfolds with purpose. You've experienced kairos before, haven't you? Those moments when everything clicked into place with such perfection that you couldn't have planned it better yourself. The chance encounter that changed everything. The random opportunity that appeared precisely when you were ready for it. The synchronicity that left you breathless with its precision. These weren't coincidences, they were divine timing. But here's what most people miss. Divine timing isn't just about the moments of manifestation. It's equally about the spaces between, the sacred delays, the holy pauses. The divine holding patterns that feel like nothing is happening when in reality, everything is being arranged. Think of the farmer who plants seeds. To the untrained eye, that field looks barren for months, empty, unproductive, a failure. But beneath the surface, a miracle is unfolding according to natural law. The seed must first crack open and die to its former self before it can become what it's meant to be. It must develop roots before it can even think about reaching for the sun. Your life operates by similar principles. What appears to be delay is often development occurring beneath the surface of your awareness. This isn't spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity. The waiting is hard. The uncertainty can feel unbearable. The questions, when will this change? Why not now? What am I doing wrong? They're all valid human responses to the discomfort of divine timing. But consider this. What if the waiting itself is the teaching? What if the delay isn't an obstacle to your growth but the very vehicle of it? In these waiting periods, we're forced to develop qualities we'd otherwise never cultivate. Patience, yes, but also discernment, resilience, surrender, trust, the capacity to find peace, not when conditions are perfect, but when they're perfectly imperfect. The Stoic philosophers understood this. They didn't see obstacles as interruptions to their path, but as the path itself. The delay is not keeping you from your destiny. It is your destiny unfolding in real time. Carl Jung spoke of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem to defy logical explanation. But synchronicity requires space. It requires gaps in our controlling, micromanaging tendencies. Divine timing often works through synchronicity, orchestrating encounters and events with a precision our conscious minds could never achieve. And quantum physics hints at something even more profound. Time itself is not what we think it is. It's not the rigid linear progression we experience. At the quantum level, particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously. Past, present, and future blur. What if divine timing is simply the universe operating from this higher dimensional view? Seeing connections and possibilities our three-dimensional perspective cannot grasp. But philosophy and physics aside, you've felt this truth in your bones before. Think of how many times you've uttered some version of, looking back, I can see why it had to happen that way. That wisdom is available to you now, in the midst of your waiting. You don't have to wait until hindsight to trust the process. You can choose to see your current delay as divine protection rather than cosmic punishment. The relationship that's not manifesting. Perhaps you're being protected from a connection that would divert you from your path rather than enhance it. The career opportunity that keeps slipping through your fingers. Perhaps you're being guided toward creating something of your own instead of fitting into someone else's vision. The healing that seems agonizingly slow. Perhaps your body and spirit are rebuilding from the foundation up, ensuring the transformation is sustainable rather than superficial. The ancient Taoists understood the power of natural timing. Wu Wei, non-forcing, non-striving, wasn't about passivity. It was about aligning with the inherent rhythm of life, rather than imposing our artificial timelines. The Tao Te Ching reminds us, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Look at how you've been approaching your desires. Have you been pushing the river, forcing the flower to bloom, demanding the fruit before the season? Or have you been cultivating, preparing, creating fertile conditions for natural law to operate? Divine timing asks us to shift from forcing to flowing, from controlling to co-creating, from demanding to dancing with life. This doesn't mean you become passive. Divine timing requires your active participation, but with a crucial difference. You act from inspiration rather than desperation. You move from alignment rather than anxiety. You create from trust rather than fear. When you're in sync with divine timing, you know when to advance and when to retreat, when to speak and when to listen, when to strive and when to surrender. You develop a relationship with life itself, feeling its subtle cues rather than imposing your will upon it. Think of it like surfing. The surfer doesn't create the wave or control its timing. The surfer studies the patterns, positions themselves with skill, and then, at precisely the right moment, catches the wave that was always coming their way. Too early, and they miss it entirely. Too late, and the opportunity passes. Divine timing is learning to read the waves of your life with that same attunement. But what if you've been waiting for what feels like an eternity? What if your patience has worn thin, your faith has frayed, and your hope has dimmed? First, acknowledge that feeling. The human experience of waiting can be excruciating. Your frustration is valid. Your questions are natural. Your doubt makes perfect sense. Then, consider that lengthy delays often precede the most significant breakthroughs. The longer the winter, the more glorious the spring. The deeper the darkness, the more stunning the dawn. The more thorough the preparation, the more enduring the result. History's most transformative figures endured waiting periods that seemed to stretch beyond reason. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison before emerging to transform a nation. Vincent van Gogh sold just one painting in his lifetime, never witnessing the profound impact his work would have on the world. Countless spiritual teachers spent decades in obscurity before their message reached those who needed it most. Divine timing isn't about instant gratification, it's about ultimate fulfillment. And here's a truth that might shift everything for you. The waiting period itself contains gifts you could receive no other way. When you're forced to pause, you notice details you would have missed in motion. When progress slows, you develop character that success alone could never build. When manifestation delays, you're given the precious opportunity to refine your true desires, often discovering that what you're really seeking is different from what you initially thought you wanted. The pause is not empty. The waiting is not wasted. The delay is not a detour. Think about the most meaningful achievements and relationships in your life. Did any of them arrive exactly when and how you expected? Or did they unfold according to a wisdom greater than your planning mind could devise? I'm guessing it was the latter. Let me offer you a different way to relate to divine timing, a practice rather than just a concept. Instead of seeing your waiting period as a frustrating gap between desire and fulfillment, try viewing it as sacred preparation space. Ask yourself, how can I use this time to become the person who is ready to receive what I'm asking for? If you're waiting for love, become the partner you wish to attract. Heal the wounds that would compromise connection. Develop the emotional intelligence that sustains intimacy. Practice the self-love that ensures you'll choose wisely, rather than from loneliness. If you're waiting for career advancement, master your current role so thoroughly that the next level cannot help but recognize your value. Develop skills beyond what's expected. Build relationships that create a network of support. Clarify your unique contribution. If you're waiting for healing, honor the intelligence of your body and psyche. Create conditions for wholeness. Release the timeline and focus on the process. Trust that integration happens layer by layer, not all at once. Whatever you're waiting for, the formula remains the same. Use the waiting to become the person who can not only receive, but sustain and elevate what you desire. This shift transforms waiting from passive suffering to active creation, from empty space to fertile ground, from frustration to anticipation. Think of the caterpillar again. Inside the chrysalis, it doesn't just wait, it transforms. It literally dissolves its former structure and reorganizes into something entirely new. From the outside, nothing appears to be happening. Inside, everything is changing. Your waiting period is your chrysalis. The question isn't when will this end, but who am I becoming in this sacred space? And remember, divine timing isn't just about you. Your timeline is interwoven with countless others. The job you want involves other people's decisions and development. The relationship you seek involves another soul's journey and readiness. The impact you wish to make requires specific conditions in the collective. Divine timing honors these interconnections. It orchestrates not just your highest good, but the highest good of all involved. Sometimes what appears to be delay is actually the compassionate coordination of multiple timelines, ensuring that when manifestation occurs, it serves everyone touched by it. This perspective asks us to release our ego's demand for immediate fulfillment and trust in a wisdom that sees further than our limited vision can perceive. It invites us to consider that perhaps the universe isn't withholding what we want, it's preparing something better than we can currently imagine. I've seen this truth play out countless times in my own life and in the lives of others. The job that fell through, making way for the passion project that brought both prosperity and purpose. The relationship that ended, creating space for a connection of greater depth and authenticity. The illness that forced a pause, ultimately redirecting an entire life toward greater meaning. These weren't coincidences or consolation prizes. They were divine timing at work, the universe saying not this because it was arranging yes this. But how do you distinguish between divine timing and simple inaction or wrong direction? How do you know when to wait and when to move? Here's the subtle but crucial difference. Divine timing feels like flowing with a current, even when that current is carrying you through challenging waters. There's a sense of rightness beneath the difficulty. Frustration may be present, but despair is not. Questions arise. But deep down, there's a knowing that this path, this process, this timeline has meaning. In contrast, forcing feels like swimming against the current. Everything is a struggle. Doors don't just delay an opening, they slam shut. Synchronicities are absent. Exhaustion replaces anticipation. The soul itself seems to whisper, "Not this way." Listen to these subtle cues. They're the language of divine timing speaking directly to your intuition. And if you're still unsure, here's a practice. In moments of waiting, get quiet and ask yourself, is there an action I'm being called to take that I'm avoiding out of fear? If yes, divine timing is asking you to move despite your resistance. If no, perhaps divine timing is asking you to surrender to the pause, to trust the process even when you cannot see the progress. This dance between action and allowing, between doing and being, between manifesting and receiving, this is the art of aligning with divine timing. It's not passive waiting, nor is it forceful doing. It's responsive co-creation with the intelligence of life itself. As you navigate your own waiting periods, remember that divine timing has a fractal quality. What appears to be delay in the short term often reveals itself as perfect timing in the longer arc of your journey. The day's frustration becomes the year's gratitude. The month's confusion becomes the decade's clarity. Time is not just linear, but cyclical and spiral. Your life moves not just forward, but upward. Each apparent delay actually lifting you to a higher perspective, a more expanded consciousness, a greater capacity for the very thing you seek. The ancient traditions knew this wisdom. They marked time not just by clocks, but by seasons, cycles, celestial movements. They understood that forcing the harvest before the ripening was not just futile but destructive. They respected the intelligence embedded in natural timing. In our modern world, we've lost this wisdom. We've come to worship speed, immediacy, instant results. We've forgotten that depth requires duration, that quality demands time, that some transformations simply cannot be rushed. Divine timing invites us back into this ancient knowing. It asks us to trust not just the visible surface of our lives, but the invisible currents that carry us toward our highest expression. And perhaps most importantly, divine timing reminds us that the present moment, this moment, exactly as it is, contains its own perfection. When we're constantly fixated on what hasn't arrived yet, we miss the subtle gifts being offered right now. The waiting period for your dream job might contain the chance to develop a skill that will prove essential later. The pause before your great love arrives might hold friendships that will sustain you through future challenges. The delay in your creative project might be allowing life experiences that will add necessary depth to your expression. These aren't consolation prizes, they're essential elements of the larger vision, pieces of the puzzle your limited perspective can't yet see in their proper relation to the whole. So if you're in a period of waiting right now, if you're questioning the timing of your life, doubting the process, wondering if you've been forgotten by the universe, I invite you to consider a radical possibility. What if nothing has gone wrong? What if this timing is not just acceptable but optimal? What if the delay itself is the doorway to something far greater than what you've been envisioning? This doesn't mean you stop taking inspired action. It doesn't mean you abandon your dreams or lower your standards. It simply means you release the stranglehold of your timeline and open to the possibility that the universe operates according to a more complex and beautiful schedule than your mind can comprehend. When you align with divine timing, something remarkable happens. The waiting itself becomes sacred. The pause becomes pregnant with possibility rather than empty with absence. The delay transforms from punishment to preparation. You start to notice the subtle gifts hidden within the waiting. Deeper self-knowledge, refined clarity about what you truly want, increased capacity to appreciate the eventual manifestation, greater resilience that will serve you once your desire arrives. You begin to trust the unfolding rather than resist it. You surrender not in defeat, but in wisdom, recognizing that your limited perspective cannot grasp the full complexity of the cosmic choreography at work in your life. And paradoxically, when you release your death grip on timing, things often begin to flow with greater ease. Not because you've manipulated the universe into giving you what you want, but because you've finally aligned with its natural rhythm. You've stopped pushing the river and learned to swim with its current. This is the ultimate freedom. To want what you want, to work toward your visions, to take inspired action, while simultaneously releasing attachment to exactly how and when manifestation occurs, to hold your desires firmly, but your timelines loosely, to trust that what's meant for you will not pass you by regardless of appearances. The delay is not denial. The waiting is not punishment. The pause is not failure. The delay is divine timing, the universe arranging circumstances, people, conditions, and your own inner state into perfect alignment for an outcome greater than what you can currently imagine. So breathe into this moment. Release the grip of anxious waiting. Trust the unfolding. Know that you haven't been forgotten or overlooked. The universe sees you. It hears your desires. And it's orchestrating a symphony of circumstances with such precision and care that one day you'll look back in awe at the perfect timing of it all. Your delay isn't divine punishment. It's divine protection, divine preparation, divine perfection unfolding in real time. And perhaps, just perhaps, when you look back from the future, you'll whisper with tears of gratitude, "Thank you for not giving me what I wanted when I thought I needed it. Thank you for the divine delay that delivered something far greater than my limited vision could have imagined." If these words have touched something in you, if they've shifted your relationship with waiting even slightly, then perhaps they came to you in perfect timing, not a moment too soon, not a moment too late, exactly when your soul was ready to receive them. And that's not coincidence. That's divine timing at work in this very moment, connecting us across space and time in this shared exploration of life's most profound mysteries. Trust the timing of your life. All is well. All is unfolding perfectly, and you are exactly where you need to be on this beautiful, mysterious journey of becoming.